Marta stood in the hallway of the student dormitory in Warsaw. She didn't know what to do with the pain tightening in her chest. Her mind couldn't slow down the speed of that evening's events. The argument in the kitchen had escalated, words cutting each other off. The coffee cup she'd dropped had shattered into pieces. Her friends had each spoken a sentence, each in a tone as harsh as their own truth. Bartek remained silent. His silence hurt her more than anything that had been said. Marta went into her room. She closed the door. She left her phone on the bedspread. Her eyes filled with tears. Swallowing didn't take away the metallic taste in her mouth. Suddenly, nothing seemed as comforting as the idea of leaving the city right away without telling anyone. Tonight. She opened the closet door. She put her backpack on the floor, a few t-shirts, a thick sweater, a toothbrush, a charging cable, her wallet, her ID. She was moving quickly. Her fingers touched each item with a strange attention, as if she were touching them for the first time. She was going back to her small town, the house behind the flat fields and small patches of forest where she had spent her childhood north of Lublin. Her mother would be surprised but happy. Her father wouldn't raise his voice. He would say, "Good for you, daughter." If she caught the night bus right away, she would be there by dawn. She picked up her phone. She looked at Bartek's profile picture. She wanted to write a message. "I'm tired." She wrote it, then deleted it. "We'll talk tomorrow." She wrote it, then deleted it again. In the end, she wrote nothing. She turned off the screen. She slung her bag over her shoulder. She quietly closed the door and stepped out into the hallway. The elevator wasn't working. She went down the stairs. The light from the card reader made her face look pale. The smell of the night was the city's metallic dampness. As she walked to the bus stop, she felt an unfamiliar lightness. It was as if the weight of her decision had lifted from her ankles. The bus terminal was empty. He bought a ticket, he sat on a bench, and waited. A sentence repeated inside him. 1 week. Just 1 week. He pulled his things onto his lap. He put his phone in airplane mode. He looked at the screen one last time. There was nothing in the scrolling notification bar. This silence felt like peace for a few hours. He moved to the window seat on the bus. The pattern on the seat was worn. The engine started. The lights of Warsaw faded behind them. The road opened up. Silhouettes blurred together. Marta closed her eyes. She drifted in and out of sleep as if slipping into a dream. She watched herself in the window. The face in the window would look paler in the morning. She thought to herself, "We'll talk when I get back. I'll tell you when I get back." When she arrived in Lublin, the sky was gray. She got off at the town stop. The air was cool. The streets were empty. When her mother opened the door, her surprise mixed with joy. She hugged Marta. "You never let us know," she said, but the lines on her face softened. Her father smiled. "I'll make breakfast," he said, opening the stove door. The old iron creaked with a familiar sound. The first day passed. Marta rested. She sat in the garden with her mother. The second day passed. No one called. No one sent a message. On the third day, Marta took her phone out of airplane mode. The screen was still silent. It was as if the wave created by the argument she had left behind in the city had hit a wall and disappeared. An indefinable emptiness filled her. If only someone would ask, she thought. If only Bartek would text. He didn't. On the fourth day, she looked at her friends' social media posts from the city. Some had posted a photo, some a short video. Studio rehearsals, camping gear, coffee mugs. Familiar names appeared in the comments under the photos. She looked at Bartek's profile. His last post was 2 days ago. A photo taken in the shade of tall red pines. A camping table, a thermos with a lid on it, a rolled-up sleeping bag on the side. The sentence he wrote underneath caught her attention. "We're going to the lakes of the north." Close to the distant Marta yawned. Her finger went to the photo. She zoomed in. A silhouette appeared in the background. The face was indistinguishable. Hair at shoulder length, a black hoodie, a thin bag slung over the shoulder. Her heart skipped a beat. She looked at the silhouette again. The blurriness of the frame was unreliable. Everyone standing far away looked alike. Just then, her mother called out, "Will you get some bread?" Marta put her phone in her pocket. She went outside. On the way to the small market, she stopped at the bridge from her childhood. The stream flowing under the bridge was thin. It raged when the snow melted in winter and retreated into its shell in summer. She found the small marks she had once carved into the iron railing of the bridge. M+M. The first letter was for her, the second for her brother, Merrick. Merrick hadn't been able to go to university. He worked in a factory on the new line on the outskirts of the city, morning and evening. He was starting his shift. They hadn't been able to meet this week because he was tired in the evenings. Marta touched the iron. Her fingertips were stained with dirty paint. On the 5th day, she had a dream at midnight. In the dream, she was at the edge of a lake. Fog lay over the water. The tree trunks looked like dark pillars rising out of the water. A camp had been set up on the shore. A pot was boiling over a fire. People were whispering. Marta looked around. She couldn't make out their faces. Directly opposite her, she saw her own back. A familiar bag was on her back. The shoulder line was the same as hers. At that moment, the one in the dream turned and looked back. Her eyes were not visible because she had no face. In its place was an oval void. This void rippled like the water's surface for a moment. It was as if the face was waiting for the right moment. Marta screamed and woke up. On the 6th day, she thought about calling Bartek. She wanted to say, "I'm fine." The words felt empty. Her fingers found the number. She didn't press the call button. She looked at the screen. Then she hung up. That day, she sat looking out the kitchen window until late afternoon. It rained. Water dripped from the edge of the roof. Her mother made dinner. Her father watched the news. Life went on flat and calm. Only one sentence lingered in the back of her mind. Why isn't anyone calling? On the 7th day, she decided to go back. She bought a ticket for the morning bus. She hugged her mother. His father carried his suitcase to the door. "If you've made up your mind, that's fine," he said. "If you haven't, that's fine too." People slow down sometimes. Marta smiled. "I'll call," she said. Walking to the bus stop, she passed in front of the bridge. She looked at the M+M sign on the iron once more. She tapped the iron lightly. A faint sound came out. When she returned to Warsaw, the weather was sunny. Young people were sitting in front of the dorm. Some were playing guitar. Some were looking at their phones. Marta went inside. She went up to her room. She put her bag down. She looked out the window at the campus lawn. She couldn't suppress the strange tension inside her. She hadn't received a message from anyone in a week. Such a long period of silence could no longer be explained by loneliness. She thought she heard footsteps outside the door. She pressed her ear against the door. The hallway was quiet. She opened the door. Magda was standing in the hallway. She had a camping bag on her shoulder and a folded camping chair in her hand. When Marta saw the surprise on her face, she felt a moment of joy. "Magda," she said, "where are you? Magda pushed her with her chair. "What are you talking about?" she said. "You just talked to Bartek downstairs. You gave him the key?" Marta tried to smile. "I just got here." Magda frowned. She dropped the bag from her shoulder. "Are you okay?" she said. "You were acting strange on the way back last night." There was something odd about the whole camp, but last night it was worse. The blood drained from Marta's face. "What camp?" Magda's expression went blank. "Marta, you were with us. A week at the Northern Lakes. We tried out the new hiking route. You even took a picture of the rock you stepped on. You were with us." The sentence was clear and calm. It held no doubt. Then, instead of asking a question, she rolled her eyes. "Did you fight with your boyfriend again? Don't be silly." Marta took a step back. "I was in Lublin. I was at home. For a week." Magda smiled. Her smile was brief. "You're joking?" "I'm not joking." Magda slung her bag back over her shoulder. "Talk to Bartek," she said, and walked away. Marta returned to her room. Her hands were shaking. She opened her phone. She wrote a message to Bartek. "We need to talk." She pressed send. The message was seen in 3 seconds. The Bartek's typing indicator appeared, then it disappeared, then it reappeared. Then a sentence came. "Now?" Marta wrote, "Yes, I'm downstairs." Bartek appeared at the door 2 minutes later. Bartek's face was tired. There were dark circles under his eyes. His hair smelled of camp, resin and smoke. Marta smelled it too. Bartek came inside. He closed the door. "What are you upset about?" he said. "You didn't say anything during the whole camp. You sulked on the way back." Now this message, Marta took a breath. "I wasn't at camp." Bartek blinked. "Don't be ridiculous." "I was in Lublin. I talked to my mom and dad. I sat in the garden. It rained on the 3rd day. I came back yesterday morning." Bartek shook his head as if to say no. "Marta, you were with us. You lit the fire on the shore of the 7th lake. Your hair smelled of smoke. You wore my jacket when you got cold. Even this." He took a small stone out of his pocket. 2 lines and a dot were carved into it. "You carved this. It's like a code. You joked about it being the 3rd sign." Marta looked at the stone. Its surface glistened as if wet. She didn't want to touch the mark with her finger. "I didn't carve it." Bartek looked at her. "You're scaring me." Marta looked up. "I'm scared too." Neither of them spoke for a while. The silence didn't fit in the small space of the room. Bartek finally sighed. "Look," he said, "you're tired. You may have forgotten some things. We had arguments. I wasn't great either, but we were together. Magda, Kasper, me, and you. There are photos. There are our conversations in the group chat. Can you show me?" Bartek took out his phone. His fingers moved across the screen. The photos opened. Pine trees, white-barked birches, thin fog. The lake surface looked like metal. On the right side of the frame, a girl sat on a bench next to the fire. Her face was Marta's. Her smile was faint, her eyes tired. Below it, Bartek had written, "Marta finally warmed up." In another photo, Marta stood on a wooden pier looking at the water. Her back was to the camera, but the line of her shoulders was familiar. In the 3rd photo, they were all together. They were smiling. Marta was standing near the center. She was wearing a blue beret. Marta stood with her palms sweaty. The photos pointed to the sharp line of her own eyes, her own hairline, her own lip shape. But looking more closely at the photos, she saw small imperfections. The small mole at the edge of her right eyebrow didn't appear in any of the frames. The dimple that formed on her left cheek when she smiled was missing. In one photo, the seam of the blue beanie was turned inward. Marta never wore her beanie that way. She looked at Bartek. "Zoom in," she said. Bartek zoomed in. The pixels became grainy and dark. Still, a small detail stood out. There was no thin scratch mark on the girl's left hand on the top of her second finger. Marta had gotten that mark as a child when she grabbed the door handle. That mark had never faded. "This isn't me," said Marta. "Look, there's no mark." Bartek shrugged. "It might not be visible. I don't wear my beret backwards. I never wear it." Bartek scowled. "What do you want me to say? Someone came to camp in your place? They fooled us all? We slept in the same tent for 3 nights. As soon as Marta heard this sentence, she recoiled. Her knees buckled. "In the same tent?" Bartek raised his hands. "Don't get me wrong," he said. "It was a shared tent. A 4-person tent. Kasper was there too. You never slept properly. You woke up talking at night. One night, you even went out to look at the water. You stood there as if listening to a call. What call?" Bartek fell silent. "Maybe you were joking. You said something like, 7th lake, 7th mouth, 3rd sign." We laughed. You came back in the early hours. Marta could hear her heart beating. Black spots appeared at the corners of her eyes. "I wasn't there," she said. "I'm in this room. I wasn't there." The sentence became a refrain. Bartek put his phone in his pocket. "Let's talk tonight if you want," he said. "Get some rest." Bartek left. The door closed. Marta sat on the edge of the bed. She ran her fingers over her knees. A strange electricity coursed beneath her skin. Suddenly, notification sounds began coming from her phone. Dozens of messages appeared in the group chat. "Great comeback. Post the photos." Marta's stone game. 3 dots, 2 lines chat. Marta scrolled through the screen. One message caught her eye. It was sent from her own name. "Let's stay one more day." The profile picture next to the message was hers. It was from 3 days ago. Holding a sentence written in her own name was like holding fire. She closed the screen. She walked around the room. She opened the window. The noise of the city poured in. The shadows on the wall of the nearby building moved. Marta felt as if she was being watched by someone's eyes. She drew the curtain. She stood in front of the mirror. She looked at her own face. The mole on the edge of her eyebrow was there. The mark on her left finger was there. She tried to smile. The dimple on her left cheek appeared. "Me," she said. "I'm here." That evening, Magda and Kasper stopped by the room. They were tired and disheveled. "The camp was great," said Kasper. "The path you walked on isn't even on the map." Marta listened. She watched where the words went. When they looked at her, there was a strangeness in their eyes. It was as if they were searching for a detail, and when they couldn't find it, they didn't care. Kasper turned to the mirror as he gathered his hair. Marta looked at their reflection side by side in the mirror. Her own silhouette seemed to tremble slightly. She shook her head. She wanted to say, "I was in Lublin." She didn't. Around midnight, she made a decision. She would go to the lake where the photos had been taken. The train from Warsaw to the northern lakes left early in the morning. She felt she couldn't wait until morning. The buzzing in her head grew louder with every passing hour. She put a flashlight, a small knife, water, a notebook, and a stone and pencil in her bag. The stone Bartek had given her was in her pocket. 2 lines and a dot. The train's rhythm slowed down towards morning. The faint rattling of the carriage sounded like intermittent breaths. Marta took her head away from the window. She saw her own face in the dark window. She blinked. The reflection blinked at the same time. She felt a brief sense of relief. The old man in the seat next to her stretched out his legs. The zipper on the bag he had placed on the overhead rack was open. The metal teeth gleamed like 2 parallel lines. Marta looked away. She tapped her knee twice, then she stopped. 2 lines, 1 dot. She got off at the small station. The wind wasn't sharp, but it was wet. The platform was empty. There was a note on the ticket window. Minibus, Lake Road at 5:30 a.m. It was 5:28 a.m. A minibus with dim headlights appeared from behind. The driver rolled down the window. "The lake?" he said. "Yes." "Get in." Marta handed him the money. The driver nodded. He occasionally shifted the gear into neutral and then back again. The sound of the engine stretched out like 2 short dashes. Then it stopped at a dot. As the road narrowed, the trunks of the trees drew closer together. The white bark of the birches was visible even before the sun rose. The minibus stopped in a sparsely wooded area at the start of the trail. The driver pointed to a sign. "Straight ahead from here," he said. "The docks are on the left." Then he drove off without looking in the mirror. The wooden sign read, "Rezerva Leshna/Lakes Trail." There were small scratches carved beneath the writing. A tourist had carved a +K with a knife. Next to it was a newer carving, 2 short lines, with a single dot placed beside them. The mark seemed to have been made with a metal rod, not a knife. It was deep but smooth. Marta slung her bag over her shoulder. She stepped onto the path. The soil was soft after the last rain. The edge of her shoe left a mark when it touched the mud. She paused occasionally to listen to her breath. The rhythm of her breathing was good. There was no palpitations. Only a slight ache lingered on the left side of her chest. That ache behaved like a nail that had been quietly hammered in over the last few weeks. The path to the first pier was straight. The lake suddenly opened up beneath the trees. The wooden pier stretched out into the water. The planks were dark brown. A small notch was visible on the edge of the railing. A splinter had fallen next to the notch. Marta bent down. She picked up the splinter. A sharp pain shot through her palm. The tip of the splinter seemed to mimic the point where 2 lines met. She approached the edge of the fire pit. The ashes were gray, but deep down there was still warm air. A broken branch lay half charcoal, half wood. Just ahead, a metal button glinted. He cupped the button. He saw his own eyes reflected on its surface. There was no one around. The cabin window was dark. A transparent box stood in front of the door. It said, "Found items." Inside the box was a blue beret. The beret was identical to the one in the photograph. The seam was turned inward. A white label was stuck on it. September 14th, Pier 1. The label's thick letters were straight and clean. "They tricked me," he said to himself. He didn't want to hear his voice. He swallowed the sentence back. Reservation papers were pinned to the board. 07-14/09, Group Nowak +3. His eyes scanned the dates. They all pointed to the same week. He tried to stay calm. He saw a mark drawn in pencil at the end of the logbook. 2 lines, a dot. He didn't pick up the pencil. He didn't open the cover. While the cabin was closed, a click came from inside. A drawer closed. Then a short metallic scrape was heard. Marta took a step toward the cabin. Then she pulled back. She didn't want to approach the door. Sometimes the door felt safer when it was closed. The path to the second pier was narrower. There were knife marks here and there on the tree trunks. One trunk had 22.13 carved into it. That number was the timestamp on a photo's metadata. Marta compared the hand that carved this inscription to the cut mark on her own palm. Fine, decisive, quick. The second pier was older. The planks creaked. A nail protruded at the end. Marta didn't play with it. She looked at the water. The mist lay on the surface like a thin cloth. Her reflection bent with the wave. For a moment, another reflection line appeared behind it. It was as if the same movement was repeated with a slight delay. Marta lowered her head. She held onto the pier with her hands. When she lifted her head and looked again, the water was flat. A bush rustled. She felt as if someone was watching her from behind. She wanted to say, "If you're there, come out." She didn't. She now had to choose her words carefully. Wrong words invited wrong images. She had learned that. She didn't return to camp. She caught up with the minibus. When he sat down in his seat on the train, the sun had risen. This time, the reflection in the window was synchronous. Still, the thought running through his mind didn't change. They were there, he said. They might have kept it a secret. Then another sentence came. What if I was there and don't remember? This sentence caught in his throat. He swallowed. She got off at Warsaw. The campus was crowded. A security guard was glued to the screen at the dorm entrance. One of the corridors was visible on the screen. The image froze for a moment. A red dot flashed in the lower corner. The guard pressed a button. The image started rolling again. Marta tried not to pay attention to it. Magda was waiting in the room. She was drying her hair with a towel. She pulled up a chair and sat down. "Where did you disappear to?" she said. There was no anger in her voice. There was concern. "I went to the lakes." Magda paused. "By yourself?" "Yes." "Why?" "I wanted to see." Magda handed him the phone. "You already saw it." She opened the gallery. The camp photos appeared. 4 people around a fire. 4 people walking on a pier. 4 people looking into the water from a boat. The 4th person was Marta. "That wasn't me," said Marta. "I was in Lublin." "Why are you doing this?" said Magda. "You act as if everything is normal. Then you suddenly disappear. Then you say, 'I wasn't there.' You're wearing us all out." Marta leaned against the wall. "I'm not sick." "I didn't say you were sick," Magda said quietly. "But something's wrong, can't you see?" Bartek appeared in the doorway. He looked tired. He was holding a blue beret. "This is yours," he said. "I got it from the box in the cabin. You fixed the stitching. It was on your head the whole camp." Marta reached out involuntarily. Then she pulled her hand back. "I didn't fix the stitching." "I sat next to you while you were sewing," said Bartek. "You were reading poetry. You read 2 lines. Then you fell silent." Marta closed her eyes for a moment. The image of that evening flashed in her mind like a spark. The crackling of the fire, the bark of the birch trees, a few words someone had read. Her own voice. The words had no color, but they had rhythm. That rhythm was like 2 short dashes. Finally, silence. "It wasn't me," she said. She opened her eyes. The determination in her voice trembled. Bartek lowered his shoulders. "I'm tired," he said. "I want to be good to you, but you won't let me in." Magda opened the laptop on the edge of the table. Her fingers flew across the keyboard. She typed 3 words into the search bar. Marta plus Lublin plus incident. She hit enter. The local newspaper's archive opened on the screen. A news story titled Tragedy at Home. Clicking on it loaded a second page. The year was written there 5 years ago. The phrase underage suspect was in the bottom line. A link to a court note appeared. They hesitated to click. Marta took a step back. "Close this," she said. "You have to face this," said Magda. "No," Marta shouted. "Don't do this to me." Bartek didn't close the page. He spoke without taking his eyes off her. "We're not attacking you. We just want to understand what happened. Are you with us or not? Are you lying to us or to yourself?" Marta looked away from them. She stared at the thin gap between the wall and the curtain. That gap was the line where the room always ended. Focusing on that line made the dizziness go away. Still, another line crossed her mind. Run. She opened the door and stepped into the hallway. Magda followed her. "Stop," she said. "Let's talk." Marta didn't stop. She headed for the stairs. Bartek followed them. Both tried to catch up with her. At the entrance, the security guard looked up. "Is there a problem?" he asked. "No," said Magda. "We're just going out for some air." The air outside was cool. Marta quickly entered the path leading to the bridge. Bartek called out from a distance, "Don't go alone." The sentence hung in the air. Marta walked on as if she hadn't heard. When she reached the bridge, the iron was cold. She placed her finger on the letters M plus M. Half of the second M was missing. That half stood out like a void. The void was the thing the eye picked out fastest because it had no shape. Magda stood beside her. Her breathing was irregular. "Look," she said, "I want to believe you, but I also want you to be honest. Who are we? Who are you?" "I am me." "That's not enough." Marta pressed her clenched fist against the iron. "You don't exist," she said. "You want to erase me." There was a crack in her voice. Bartek shook his head. "We are not threats. You are liars. We are talking about something broken. Let us fix it. Don't fix me." "I am not broken." Magda didn't narrow her eyes. She didn't raise her voice. 5 years, she said. "I don't know what's in the file. But something happened. You can't skip over that." Marta closed her eyes. Her mother's face came to her. Her father's voice came to her. The sound of the ventilation in the kitchen came to her. The lid of the matchbox came to mind. The click of the bolt came to mind. Then everything went dark. When she opened her eyes, she was on the bridge. The iron was cold. Bartek was still holding out his hand. Magda was one step behind. Marta could have put the knife in her pocket. She didn't. She turned the knife between her fingers. The metal gave off a dull light, even in the sunless air. Bartek took the blue beanie out of his pocket. "This," he said, "you fix the stitching. Inside the tent, you asked for a needle and thread. You pricked your finger. The tissue you used to wipe the blood is still in my bag." He held out the beanie. "I didn't make this up." Marta's chest tightened. The old wound on her finger throbbed. The knife felt heavier in her hand. "It wasn't me." "There are cameras," said Magda. "The camp market's camera, the cabin's logbook, the reservation page. You're in all of them. Records lie." "Sometimes," said Bartek, "but not everything lies at the same time." Marta took a step. She moved closer to the iron. She looked at the water. Her silhouette was drawn on the surface of the water. The silhouette expanded as she breathed. Then it narrowed. A second line appeared deep down. The second line did not move in sync with her. It came half a second later. Marta blinked. The reflection didn't blink. Then it blinked. "Do you see it?" she said. "There." Bartek looked at the water. Wind. Not wind. Exhaustion. No. Panic. Marta ignored him. She lowered the knife. The indecision of whether to open it or not flashed through her like a brief fire. Then she heard a siren, far away. It was getting closer. Someone had called. This time she didn't think about who it was. When that sound got closer, everything would be decided. Sometimes decisions were taken out of a person's hands. "The police," said Magda. "Please let go." Marta put the knife aside. She pulled her hand away from the iron. "If they take me, he stays here." "Who?" "The one who isn't me," Bartek said. "You'll get treatment. We'll be with you. If you stay with me, he'll want you." "Who wants us?" "My twin." Bartek and Magda looked at each other. A single word passed between their eyes. Twin. The word had no content, but it held danger. The siren grew closer. Light hit the bridge pillars. Blue and red glints danced on the iron. Marta turned her head. At that moment, two reflections became clear on the water's surface. The first was hers. The second was another her, moving half a second later. The second reflection's face was emptier, her eyes darker. Her lips moved. Marta didn't know how to read lips. Still, she felt the sentence, "I'm here." The police approached. Two of them stood at the head of the bridge. One spoke through a megaphone. "Drop the knife. Step back." His voice was calm and firm. Marta placed the knife on the metal. When metal touched metal, there was a short sound, a sound that stretched like two lines and ended at a point. Then she raised her hands. The police approached step by step. Bartek stepped back. So did Magda. Neither of them took their eyes off her. "Look at me," said Bartek. "You're here." "I'm here," said Marta, "but he's here too." One of the policemen handcuffed her wrist. The other took the knife. Marta's face seemed to freeze for a moment. Then it moved again. "It doesn't let go of water," she said. "Water remembers." The policeman led her away from the bridge. They walked her toward the car at the side of the road. Marta turned her head. She looked at the water one last time. There seemed to be a single reflection left on the surface. But when the light hit the iron, a second line appeared. She didn't blink. She didn't move. She just existed. The car door opened. Marta got in. The door closed. She looked at herself in the window. She blinked. This time, the reflection was half a second late. Then it caught up. She searched for a small smile inside. She couldn't find it. The feeling of emptiness grew. One of the policemen spoke into his radio before getting into the vehicle. "Got her," he said. "Calm." Then he moved to the driver's seat. He turned the ignition. There was a brief hum inside the vehicle. The air conditioning kicked in. The ventilation blew like a metallic whistle. Bartek approached the door. He looked inside through the window. He didn't say, "See you at home?" He didn't say, "Get well." He said, "We're here." He said it simply and clearly. The sentence fell onto the doorstep like a lifeline. Marta heard the sentence. She slowly shook her head. "You're here," she said. "So is he." Then she closed her eyes. The car moved. It left the bridge behind. The lights grew smaller. The blue cap remained in Bartek's hand. Magda rubbed her hands together. She returned to her cold skin. They both looked at the bridge railing at the same time. Condensation walked across the metal in a line. Then a drop fell. That drop didn't stay on the metal. It slid down. It touched the surface of the water. The circles widened. They turned into two overlapping rings. The hospital waiting room was bright and quiet. The white walls stretched like a long corridor. Bartek filled out a form at the registration desk. He didn't say, "I'm not a relative." He said, "I'm a friend." The clerk nodded. "Visiting hours are at these times," he said. "If the doctor approves." Magda sat down next to him. "What about the police report?" she asked. "I don't know." "Will he be angry with us?" "It doesn't matter if he is." "Let's not leave him," said Magda. "If we leave him, he'll get worse." Bartek nodded. "Let's not leave him." At that moment, a shadow moved on the glass opposite the waiting room. It was a short, shallow movement. They both looked that way. There was no one behind the glass. The shadow had disappeared. The light returned to a flat surface. An email landed on their phones at the same time. There was no sender name. The subject line was blank. There was only one photo in the email, a distant view of the bridge. The water was flat. The iron line was clear. There was a small mark in the lower right corner of the photo. 2 short lines and a single dot next to them. The mark wasn't dark. It was faint, as if drawn on the fog with a finger. Bartek enlarged the photo. Pixels scattered. Still the mark remained. Magda touched his shoulder. "Don't delete it," she said. "I won't." 2 faces stood side by side in the brightness of the screen. Both faces were tired. Both faces were worried. Neither face wanted to leave. Marta opened her eyes on the white ceiling. It was a single room. There was a small window above the door. The window pane was not frosted. She could see outside from inside. Outside she could see the nurses' station. The nurses were talking in normal tones. There was a mirror next to the door. Its frame was simple. The mirror leaned against the wall. When the light entering the room hit the mirror, a small glare formed in the left corner of the frame. Marta sat up in bed. The blanket covering her knees slipped. Her fingertips felt like ice. She looked at the mirror. She looked at her face. The mole on the edge of her eyebrow was there. The old scar on her left finger was there. She blinked. The mirror blinked at the same time. Something inside her settled. Then she heard the millisecond that passed. Not with her ear. Somewhere inside her. It was as if 2 lines had overlapped. In the end, a tiny dot had been delayed. The door opened. The doctor entered. He was middle-aged. His voice was calm. "Marta," he said. "I'm Dr. Kowalski." Marta nodded. "Hello? You're safe here." "I know. I'm going to ask you some questions. But first, is there anything you want to say?" Marta looked at the mirror. "Water remembers," she said. The doctor paused. "Water?" "Yes." "Anything else?" 2 lines. 1 dot. "What does that mean?" "I don't know." The doctor wrote something brief in his notebook. They were short sentences, not long sentences. Then he put down his pen. "Your friends want to see you," he said, "when you're ready." Marta looked at the window. 2 silhouettes were waiting in the hallway, Bartek and Magda. Neither of them said anything quickly. Both of them were waiting. Waiting was sometimes the most correct sentence. "Let them come in," said Marta. The doctor nodded. He opened the door. Bartek entered. He had a blue cap in his hand. The stitch had been fixed. There was a small bump where the needle had been. Magda entered behind him. There was no anger in her eyes, no fear either, only determination. "Hello," said Bartek. "Hello," said Marta. There was silence for a few seconds. Then Marta spoke. "I'm sorry." Bartek smiled. "We're here." Magda approached. "Recovery isn't a line," she said. "It's many small dots." Marta smiled. 2 lines. 1 dot, maybe. They sat together for a short while. There weren't many words. Still, the atmosphere in the room changed. Marta looked at the mirror for a moment. The mirror looked back at her at the same time. She blinked. The mirror blinked at the same time. There was no delay in that moment. Then light refracted through the upper glass of the door because of a passing attendant. There was a micro shift in the mirror. Marta noticed. She closed her eyes. She didn't open them. "What happened?" said Bartek. "Nothing," said Marta. "I'm just tired." The doctor looked at his watch. "That's it for today," he said. "We'll talk tomorrow." Bartek left the beret on the edge of the bed. "You can keep this," he said. "Okay." After they left, the room fell silent again. Marta picked up the beret. She ran her finger over the seam. An old pain lingered at her fingertip. Then she placed the beret on the nightstand. She stepped in front of the mirror. She took a deep breath. Inside, she said, "I." The mirror did not say "I" at the same time. The mirror didn't speak, yet the word lingered on the mirror's surface. A thin mist formed. 2 short lines appeared on the mist. Marta didn't wipe it away. She placed a single dot on the mist. The dot didn't look bigger than it was. It just took its place. The door closed from the outside. There was no sound of the lock. Footsteps receded. The clock at the end of the corridor ticked. Each tick was like 2 lines. Each dot was like a dot. Time wasn't moving straight, but it was moving. Marta lay down on the bed. She fixed her eyes on the ceiling. The ceiling was white. A gray shadow moved across the white. The shadow belonged to a cloud passing by the edge of the window. The cloud moved away. The shadow disappeared. She tried to sleep. A sentence passed through her mind. "I am here." The sentence passed very slowly and very clearly. She didn't understand who said it. Her mouth didn't move. She didn't shiver. She didn't scream. She didn't jump up. She just noted the sentence. He closed his eyes. A brief light flashed in the darkness. The light stretched into 2 lines. Finally, only a single dot remained. This time, the dot did not flicker. It stayed in place. Outside, the security camera at the hospital entrance paused for a moment around midnight. The image on the screen froze for half a second. Then it caught up. A small note saying "frame dropped" was added to the recording file. The time was written next to the note, 00:00:13. The technician on duty in the camera room drew 2 short lines on the paper when he saw the note. He didn't put a dot next to it. He put down his pen. He yawned. On the glass in front of the camera, at a moment when no one was looking, a face appeared. The details of the face were indistinct. The glass reflected the light. The face disappeared, and night fell over the city like a smooth curtain. The edge of the curtain passed over the water. The surface of the water breathed. The breath stretched out like 2 lines. Finally, it became as silent as a single dot. The twin might have been there, or maybe not. But the feeling remained. That feeling waited in the corner of the room until morning. No one knew what Marta was counting as she slept. Maybe she was counting the lines. Maybe the dots. Maybe both. A light dawned, unclear like the crowing roosters of morning, but heralding the awakening. The window line grew thinner. Marta opened her eyes. The mirror met her gaze at the same moment. She blinked. This time, both blinked simultaneously. Still, in a distant place, on a very distant screen, a very small delay remained. And that delay was now permanent. Something no one could ever completely erase.